At a time like now when there is so much happening in Kenyan politics, it is a good idea to step back and try and understand the big picture. And trust me, it is not boring. Actually, it is super fascinating, as you will discover very shortly. You know, one of the huge advantages of fully understanding the big picture is that it becomes much easier to analyze daily drama and to understand what is important and what is not important and is just a sideshow. Because the truth is, there are a lot of sideshows going on right now in our politics. And to make it even more interesting, let's give it a headline as follows: Why Ruto's hard push is losing to Uhuru's slow but sure strategy. Now let us simplify that one even further to avoid using kizungu mingi, because I want to keep this video short and sweet. Hard push versus slow strategy. There are these two young girls looking for a life partner, a husband. One of the girls we shall call her hard push, the other one we shall call her slow strategy. Now I have that nagging feeling some of us have experienced this in real life. Live, initially, hard push looks like they're going to win hands down because their target is the same man. To illustrate this effectively, let us make both of them party girls. But this girl's slow strategy has decided to Tuliza Boli. But hard push, she's all over the place. Pare after pare. To cut a very long story short, slow strategy wins in the end, and there is a big wedding. Why? Simply put, she had a strategy. Hard push was all about perception, quick results. What happens today? Who cares about tomorrow? Now, with that image firmly on your mind, it will be very easy to understand what is going on in our local politics. And we'll break it down into three distinct headlines. Number one, Ruto's hard push worked. After all, he's president today. Or did it? Headline number two, who is Uhuru Kenyatta really supporting for the presidency? Is it Fred Matiangi, his CS during his presidency? Or is it Kalonzo Musyoka? Now, the answer to that question is not obvious. And I'm sure my opinion will make you go, Allah. Headline number three, Raila's 2022 winning strategy for the presidency. Oh yes, the man actually won the presidency. He was not sworn in, yes, but he won the presidency. More and more Kenyans have come to that realization since 2022, when most of them did not understand what we were saying on this channel. Right, let's start with headline number one. Ruto's hard push worked in 2022 like a charm. After all, he's president today. It didn't work. Now let's keep this very simple. Let's go to my earlier example. You're looking for a husband. Supposing in our example, hard push won, okay, and there was a wedding, but the marriage lasted 2 months, 3 months. Did she actually win? I don't think so. And so Ruto became president of Kenya. Is he enjoying his presidency? Was his objective one term? You know, this is one of the biggest disadvantages of hard push, because you may achieve something, but it won't last. So what is it for? You may also achieve something which lasts, but it is hell on earth. What for? Fast forward to the present. President Ruto is still using the same hard push he used to get him to the presidency. But this time round, he's just digging himself deeper and deeper into a hole. I'm sure most of us understand what I'm talking about. For example, I followed a rally yesterday at Pipeline, where the president was trying to address the crowd, who were all chanting, "Bye, bye." And the president had huge problems controlling his temper. He ended up in that very familiar situation of trying to force the crowd to listen to him. Now, how does a politician do that? somebody looking for votes. How does that help a politician? Please educate me in the comments area below. I don't understand. Now let's look at Uhuru's slow strategy. One of the things about this approach is that people ignore you until towards the end when you actually start winning. After President Uhuru Kenyatta handed over the sword of authority to Ruto, do you remember that he vanished from the public eye for quite some time? And there's too much evidence to suggest that he knew exactly what was going to happen. Do you remember how people were talking when Uhuru handed over power? Uhuru has messed the country, the economy is collapsing. Ruto will definitely do a better job, etc., etc. When Uhuru re-emerged, I believe it was a fundraising function hosted by Kalonzo Musyoka. What was the reaction of the people? They had missed him. Suddenly, this man who had messed up the economy, allegedly, was a hero. Friends, slow strategy. And now I'm very sure you can give me many other examples. So let's quickly move on and let's answer that headline directly. Who is Uhuru Kenyatta supporting? Kalonzo Musyoka or Fred Matiangi? Now remember, this is slow strategy. It is not very interested in what happens today or next week. It is more interested in the final objective. And so in my opinion, the opposition have made a major blunder in removing Ruto from power. Can you guess what it is? They have announced their presidential candidate way too early, over a year before the presidential elections. That is definitely a blunder. You cannot convince me it is strategic. That is a hard push. Remember how Raila used to wait for the very last minute before the opposition announces that he is the presidential candidate, even though people suspected? Do you remember that? In fact, this strategy is what removed Moi. Let me remind you very quickly. In the run-up to the 2002 presidential elections, the KANU party tried every devious trick to get the opposition to announce their candidate early so that they prepare the strategy. It didn't work. And so overconfident Moi decided to move forward with the assumption that the opposition would squabble, fail to agree on a single candidate, and KANU would win. The KANU candidate Uhuru Kenyatta would win, and KANU would remain in power. But what happened? They announced Uhuru as the candidate, and Raila said at Uhuru Park, Kibaki Tosha. Very strategic, because it cancelled out tribalism from the 2002 presidential elections. Because think about it, what if the opposition had gone with Raila, for instance, against Uhuru? The tribal politics would have favored KANU. Bottom line, in my opinion, Uhuru has seen this blunder and is riding with it, but he still has his candidate, Fred Matiangi. Headline number 3, Raila's 2022 winning strategy. Let me try and summarize it very quickly. Raila's running mate was a woman. And while it is true, women political candidates always struggle to get votes from fellow women. Yeah, psychological issues, a topic for another day. In this instance, the situation was very different because Martha Karua was going to be the very first number 2 in the history of Kenya and the very first deputy president. That rallied the votes from women like nothing else would have succeeded in doing. And then Raila sponsored the weed professor, Bwana Wajakoya. Now, if we're to believe what Wajakoya told us recently, and I do, he got over 1 million votes. Now, those votes were taken away from Raila's opponent, William Ruto, in those elections. And not by accident. Careful strategy based on demographics, because there were young voters who were not going to vote for Raila, but were really warming up to William Ruto and his story about a border in the cabinet, Mama Mboga in the cabinet, etc., etc. Strategy took away those votes. Bottom line, unless something very major changes, there is a very good chance that the next president of the Republic of Kenya will be decided by Uhuru's slow strategy. Phew! Now that was a very complex political topic. I hope I managed to simplify it. So much so that it was easy for everybody to understand. And that is exactly what is unfolding in our politics as we speak. By the way, talking of slow strategy characters in our politics at the moment, I have my eye on a man called, can you guess? Edwin Sifuna. Oh, yes. You see how interesting things become when you step back to get the big picture? I hope so. And one more politician, a slow strategy politician, and I'm keeping a very close eye on them, is, can you guess? Winnie Odinga. I'm telling you, Kenyan politics these days is super, super fascinating. My apologies for summarizing everything in this video, but I was very determined not to make it very heavy. My apologies, but I hope you enjoyed it. Now, very quickly before I go, I need to report about something that happened yesterday. This person sponsoring people to get the golden key got so excited that they extended their sponsorship. And so now it is going to strictly end at midnight, the 11th of February, that's tomorrow, Wednesday. And I know this is very good news for those who missed out. So make sure you don't miss out again. Act now. Imagine, courtesy of this sponsor, and who believes getting more people with the golden key will help the cause for a better Kenya. Imagine now, with only Kenya shillings 999, less than a K, you can get a permanent golden key to everything Kumekucha. You can see details on your screens right now. Please move with speed. I am sure you realize I have absolutely no power of extending this one. And therefore, strictly at midnight, 11th of February, tomorrow, Wednesday, this offer comes to an end. Please take full advantage of this golden opportunity. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.